Similarly to how people will say consistency is key, I truly believe that self-reliance is key. And when I say that self-reliance is key, many of you are probably going to roll your eyes out there, and I understand why. There's a lot of responsibility to self-reliance in any form. But the form I'm talking about is economic self-reliance. And while I'm not 100% self-reliant, I am moving in a manner that allows me to make moves that the average person is not taught to make. The average person in this life, in this education system in the United States, the American education system, the American education system that teaches us to go out and get a job after we finish school. So we have K through 12th grade, if we're fortunate to make it there. Not all of us do. Some of us have to get GEDs. And if we get a GED, we have a certain pool of jobs and a certain level of the economy. If we make it past that to the high school diploma realm, then we are qualified for a certain realm or a certain pool of jobs at that level. Then there are those of us who go out and get our college degrees. I have a college degree in business, believe it or not. And I learned way more about business that allowed me to have a chance at succeeding than I ever learned in school. I remember being in school, getting my degree, starting a business, and not knowing how to send an invoice at the time. They don't go over the current tools or any of that stuff. You just learn vague concepts. But either way, I digress. People who have their degrees and whatever they're in, they are supposed to qualify for a certain level of job at that point. It's not always the case though. Then you have to think about those who go even further, who get master's and doctorate degrees. And usually those fields are much more specific. So if you have a master's degree in something, you may be in psychology, you should always have a job, especially in these times with the mental health crises that we're dealing with all around the world. But either way, this video is about self-reliance, and the point that I wanted to make was I was in a situation where I was selling cars. There was a regime change in ownership at the car dealership. And the old regime left all their car salesmen there. These guys had been there for 20 plus, 30 years, all doing the same thing, dedicating their mind, body, and spirit to a corporation. The owner of that corporation sells out, gets a big lump sum of money that probably sustained him through retirement. And if I remember correctly, the car salesman at that dealership got nothing. Not only did they get nothing from the sale, of course, because they're at the employee level, but when the new regime came in, the new regime had hired their own salespeople, me being one of them. And I didn't think much of it at the time, but as we went into that situation, those guys who had dedicated 20, 30 plus years to that dealership wound up being let go. They let them go, y'all. Meaning, the loyalty that you have or you display out here in this world has to be to yourself, especially when you're dealing with a corporation. Because tenure, seniority really means nothing when you're giving all of your energy to an outside entity. That's why I always have and always will primarily want to be self-reliant. I will always look to be an entrepreneur. And even if a venture that I start fails for whatever reason, the main goal from that point on is to get back on the horse and figure out another way. Because I understand that loyalty is not the two-way street that it should be. Many of us as employees give our everlasting, undying loyalty to a corporation that will leave us out in the cold to starve at the drop of a dime. Literally, the drop of a dime. Especially in today's climate where you have stakeholders and stockholders and board members who are looking at balance sheets and combing through with a fine-tooth comb. And at any point, they can find a way to save some money, regardless of what kind of humanity is displaced or what kind of humanity may suffer based on their decisions. They are going to cut you off like a cancerous cell, like a tumor, like a dead branch on a tree. That's why, for me, regardless of what anybody may say in the comments, I'm going to try and make my own way as best I can. And so if that means that I have to go without, if that means that I have to eat ramen noodles, which I've done, if that means I would have to pick up a second job doing something nobody else wants to do to keep myself afloat, then that's just what's going to happen. But there's no way that I'm going to trade my time, energy, my body and soul to a corporation for a comfortable paycheck for a certain time that they will be able to discontinue at any time. That's just not the life for me. I don't know how you feel about that, but if you feel differently, let me know in the comments. If you know of another way, let me know in the comments. But self-reliance, entrepreneurship is the life for me. And I've got many stories of people who have gone down the path of supplying their loyalty to a corporation for years, and they had it blow up in their face. But anyway, it's my video for today. I'll catch you in the next one.